So today we're here with Danny Trevino and Elwood. We're going to talk about an incident that happened here in Lansing and get a little perspective on what it's like to live in this situation. So Danny, if you want to take us into it and go ahead and introduce our guest and start asking questions and see what pans out.
All right, Elwood. When I first opened, I was on my way home from Jackson, and I noticed there was a whole lot of police in the south side of Lansing. They had helicopters, they had streets blocked off. And when I started to inquire on it, they said there was a home invasion on the south side of Lansing. I guess the feds got involved.
Yeah, there was an attempted armed robbery and home invasion at the house that I was at on Pinewood.
All right. How about you take us through this a little bit so we can see, so we can kind of get a visual on how something like this plays out.
Okay.
So, what time of day was this? Do you remember?
Yes, it was about 10:30 in the morning. 10:30, 10:40. It was pretty early.
So they weren't trying to even wait for the cover of dark. They did it in broad daylight.
No, it was broad daylight. Yes,
Broad
sir.
daylight. Were these grown men?
At the time I couldn't really tell.
But how about now? Were they grown men or were they younger?
They were young, early 20s. I suspected early 20s, very late teens.
Early teens. All right. Now you're in your Pinewood house. It's 10:30 in the morning. Go ahead and take us from there.
All right, it was around 10:30 in the morning. I was in the process of talking with my daughter on the phone, and somebody had tried coming through the front door. And the thing was they didn't knock. They didn't announce themselves. They just tried coming through as.
Like when you say they try to come through the front door, do you mean they kicked it, or you just noticed the door handle turn?
Yeah, no, they grabbed the door handle, tried to turn it, and tried to open the door. And yeah, I could tell that they were trying to. The door was moving, so yeah, they were trying to open the door at the same time. And that's when I said something to my daughter that somebody had just tried coming through the front door. And about that time, the call dropped with my daughter and I. And I went to the side door to look around the front of the house to see who was at the front door. When I did, there was two very young black males. I would have guessed their ages at between 14 and 15, maybe very young. I asked them what they wanted, what they needed, and they asked if some female, they give a female name, if she lived there. I told them no, there was nobody there like that. They said something to me, I did not catch what it was, and then they walked off. I went back into the house, I made a couple of phone calls, and then they tried it again. About exactly 10 minutes later, the noise was at the front door where they grabbed the doorknob and attempted to open the door, and I heard a slight noise off to the side, the door facing the driveway. I went again to see who was at the front door, just as I had done the first time, and this time when I stepped out of the door.
You stepped out of the side door to see who was at the front door?
Yes, I stepped out of the side door once again to see who was at the front door. And before my head cleared the corner of the house to see, the first punch hit the back of my head.
So they attacked you?
Yeah, it was an absolute blind attack. Yeah, it was. I had no idea anybody. Of course, if I had any idea somebody was standing behind me, I wouldn't have been, turned my back to them. But yeah, and then the second blow hit the side of my head. I heard one say, "Get him." And I turned around to face my attackers.
Were you all the way outside in the driveway at this time, or were you like halfway in between your doorway?
I was about one step outside the door.
when they punched you?
Yeah, I never made it past one step outside the door.
Okay, so they basically didn't catch you all the way out in the driveway?
No, they didn't. No, they didn't catch me more than it takes to, step once out the door, and had my hands still on the frame of the storm door when the attack hit. I turned and tried to fight back as best I could, but I knew I was going to get overwhelmed very quickly. At this point, I realized there was three men that were bigger than I was.
Were they the younger ones from earlier, or were there a different group of guys?
These ones, these were definitely older. These ones, as far as I could see through the short glimpses, little snapshots that I got while I was dodging and getting hit in the head, I could tell that they were around late teens, early 20s. I couldn't get good, complete, visual of them because I was getting knocked around pretty good. That's when I knew I had to get back into the house. Tried to get back into the house, and one jumped on my back. One grabbed each shoulder and tried to drag me down. Of course, I resisted and finally got back in the house. And when I walked through the door, I still had all three of them attached to me. One was still on my back, and
were they telling you stuff, or were you saying anything to them, or was it just like a...
No, they never said a word other than when the attack first happened in the driveway, the one said, "Get him."
That was about the only thing you can remember?
And then in the house, when I shook him off me finally, and I took off running, one very calmly, very cold-bloodedly said, "Get him, dog." And that's when the gunshots rang out. That's when they shot at me twice.
Did you feel the bullets go by, or do you not remember?
No, my mission at that point was to get away from them and get to my gun to defend myself. And I finally got to it, grabbed it, threw it off safety, and turned around and returned fire, and I shot all three of them.
Okay, so earlier when I spoke with you, you said you shot 2 times and you got 3 people.
Yes, I missed. I shot 3 times and 1 bullet missed, but I hit all 3.
Okay, so you shot all 3 times. You didn't have any more bullets in the gun.
Right. That's all there was in the gun was 3.
Just 3 bullets,
Was
but
3
2 of the
rounds.
bullets. So I'm assuming one of the bullet went through somebody and hit somebody else.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right, I've been in similar situations. Mine didn't end up in a gun shoot, in a gunfight. Once you shot these attackers, did they leave after that? All of them, or were they laying there and when you called the police took them out of the house?
No, they bailed out that door pretty quick.
Even the ones you shot?
Yeah, they're the only ones that were shot were the only ones that made it in the house, the 3. The 3 at the front door never made it into the house. They were,
So it was 6 altogether?
There were 7 altogether. There was the driver, and then 3 at each door. So...
Did they get the names of everybody involved?
Yes.
They did, so they were telling on each other?
Yes, they all pretty much, did their snitching and told their plea bargains and told their stories and whatever deal they got, there's only one's been sentenced so far.
Okay, so let's go back. They shot, they missed, you grabbed your firearm, you shot,
Yes,
you hit.
yes,
They took off running?
yes.
Where did they get shot at?
One, from what I'm hearing, was hit in the leg, which almost resulted in a fatal wound. A police officer had to put a tourniquet on it.
But he did make it out of the house.
Yes, he did make it out of the house.
So I'm assuming that by what your story is saying, he took off, he started running, and somewhere down the line he dropped.
Yeah, they ran out the back door, through the backyard, jumped a fence, and when they jumped the fence, they landed in a schoolyard. I believe an elementary school yard,
Okay.
which in fact had children out playing in it at the time. And the supervisor heard the gunshots, seen the three jump the fence, and was limping across, cutting across the corner of the schoolyard into a small wooded lot. And that's where the one dropped.
Okay, and he's the one who got, okay, you shot 3 times, you missed one. 2 of the bullets landed, one of the bullets penetrated the first attacker and went and hit the second attacker. Where was he hit?
I think the shoulder is what I heard. From what I've heard of it, one was taken in the shoulder and one was hit in the wrist.
One was hit in the wrist. And then the one who dropped was the one who got hit in the leg.
Yes, yes.
Okay, and you had what type of weapon?
9mm.
All right. So the attackers are now out of your house. Do you remember where the other 4 went?
No, sir. I didn't know where they went. I heard a vehicle take off real quick, fast, but I couldn't see out the front windows to know what direction they went or who was out there or how many.
Okay, so when they jumped the fence in an attempt to get away, did you immediately call the police? Is that when you called the police?
No, I came back in the house. And
So you went out of the house?
Yeah, I walked out to the front door and seen them running, a couple of them running between the fence and the garage. I did not see the one go to the right of the garage, and I found out later that one had. I walked back into the house, was pretty upset, was absolutely in shock. I was freaking out really bad. I called the landlord to let him know, and when we hung up with him, I tried to make sense of what happened and did not really know yet if I'd hit anybody. So I walked back to where I shot and looked to where they were standing, and then walked up to see if there were any bullet strikes in the wall. There wasn't. So at that point I knew that I'd hit him. I walked out to the door, and immediately just outside the door was the first fleck of blood, and that's when I trailed one on the right side of the barn, so I knew that's where the direction of one went. As far as I've seen the other 2 go on the other side.
Okay. One of these attackers, they had a nickname. Can you recall it?
Yeah, it was Jay Murda.
Jay Murda.
Jay Murda.
Has Jay Murda been convicted?
Yes.
He has. So has any of the other ones been convicted?
No, sir, not yet. He's been the only one, first one, and only one so far.
Jay Murda. Okay. Hey, let's take us back to. You just shot some of them. You went out to the outside. You checked the area out for a little bit. You came back in. You called the landlord. Thoughts are going through your head. What kind of thoughts are going through your head?
That law enforcement was going to be called, and that it was his grow. So he was going to be asked questions, and I knew law enforcement was going to have some questions for him. So I wanted him there, and not only that, but he's also a really good friend of mine.
I'm assuming it was all legal.
Oh yes, it was absolutely in compliance.
All right, and that's why the attackers came. Probably got word of it somehow.
Word of it, smell of it, I'm not really sure. I haven't been told yet exactly how they came upon the knowledge of it being there.
A lot of times they will, by just me asking you these questions and you giving me the answers of me being through the same situations a lot, in my opinion, these guys have probably done it a few times, and I'm assuming that they're following people home from different stores, from shops, from affiliates. So like if your landlord has patients and he's meeting them, and they can connect to them through that way.
True.
Follow them home.
Yeah, very true.
And start from that point. So, all right. Now you've got you're thinking, okay, you wanted the landlord there, you freaked out, you just shot some people,
Yes.
they just try to rob you.
Yes.
Go ahead and take us from there.
Well, when he got there, I told him what happened. We walked through the house. I came back out, and law enforcement was flying down the streets, left and right.
So that's probably the school called.
Yes, the superintendent that was in the schoolyard that day, she was the one, or that, I'm not sure if it was a male or female, but that person called 911, and police were there, wow, in minutes. I mean, they were quick. That's when, and when they were coming, Brian said that, well, we need to call the police, and I said, I don't think we're gonna have to, they're already coming. And he says, you think so? I said, yeah, look. And that's when they come zooming down the street, and I assumed that they were coming to me.
Yeah.
And,
I would too.
And they ended up past me and went to the end of the street.
So they probably didn't have a location on where the actual starting point.
They were surrounding the little lowland wooded lot that they had ran into, and they had them surrounded on all sides. And that just happened to be a spot where they were congregating for their little, and then they were spread out
When you
from
say
there.
they, you mean the cops or the attackers?
The police department, the law enforcement.
Law enforcement?
We're all gathered up at the end of the street, getting organized, and then spreading out through the neighborhood from there, surrounding the area where these kids had ran into.
All right, so you didn't necessarily have to call the police. Now you see the police outside, they're congregating at the end of the street. What do you do?
After the third police car went by, I began trying to wave the next one down, and he didn't look at me, he just kept on going. The next one came, I did the same thing again, never turned their head, just looked at the end of the street where everybody else was, and kept on going. And I looked at Brian and I said, well, I guess we're gonna have to go down there and walk to them. And that's what we did. We walked down the sidewalk and made contact with them.
What were your first words?
When I walked up, the one officer looked at me and said, get back, and I said, no, you really do want to talk to me. And that's when he told somebody, another officer, and I think a detective, to walk down the sidewalk with me and to get my statement. And that's when I informed them that these guys had a gun. At this point in time, they had no idea that there was a gun. They had no idea that there was a home invasion at this point. That's when I told them the story. And I'm not sure there was a lot of law enforcement there. There was an army of law enforcement.
And I think ATF got involved or something?
Yeah, I think ATF was in there. There was some SWAT teams, the sniper teams in there, I do believe. Helicopters were...
I've seen the helicopters, they were everywhere.
Yeah, and they were all over the place.
The state police.
Yes,
State police
there
were
was absolutely an army of badges surrounding it. And it was quite impressive to see that many that quick. But they were absolutely Johnny on the spot with it. And seeing as how there was a school involved, close by.
So, okay, so now you walk up to the officer, you tell them, I think you need to speak with me.
Yes.
What did you tell him? Like when you first started walking down the street?
I told them that these people had just attacked me and invaded the home and shot at me, and that I had returned fire.
Were you nervous when you told them?
Oh my God, yeah. I was shaking bad. My body was, I was absolutely in shock. Of course, I went into shock the minute the first punch at the back of my head, but at that point in time, I was numb. I couldn't feel anything.
And everything had just gotten started.
Yeah.
So now law enforcement's there.
Yes.
You're letting them know you returned fire.
And they assured me that I had done nothing wrong, that I did the only thing I could have done, and I defended myself, and that these individuals had been pretty much terrorizing the neighborhood for a couple of months.
You know, after that situation, our robberies went away.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Huh.
The police caught a couple young kids,
Yeah.
and but after that situation, it was all done.
Why isn't that a coincidence?
Yep. And I guess a couple of other marijuana dispensaries were getting broken into at the same time.
Oh, wow. No, I did not know
According
that.
to the some of the news reports I read on Facebook.
Yeah.
So I think what happened is you ended the charade.
Yeah, from what law enforcement, they told me that they had done a lot of damage and hurt a lot of people over the last few months. So,
Yeah, I heard somebody had gotten shot.
yes, apparently a week or two before my incident, there was one that was very similar in how they came to the door and left and then came back, you know, just a few minutes later. And
So they're probably checking the spot out first.
and then there was a shootout. The homeowner did have a gun. I'm not sure if he shot back, but he took a shot in the leg and hit the artery, and he bled out pretty quick.
He died?
He died. As a matter of fact, there's an ongoing investigation right now. One of this crew is going along and pointing out to detectives and law enforcement all the houses that he was involved in breaking into before
Getting caught.
before getting caught. So I'm thinking that
There's no honor in thieves.
Right.
I try to tell people that. There's no honor in thieves.
So yeah, so there might be, you know, I'm not sure if that one's linked to it or not, but if it is, then yeah, great, then they got them. They will get them, hopefully. Or get them charged with,
I'm
yeah.
assuming they robbed a place, somebody in there made a lot of money. They were able to recruit more. They were able to recruit more help to help continue the style of lifestyle of taking. When
Yeah,
break-ins didn't work,
right,
they started to move into armed robbery. That's usually the
yeah.
case.
Well, the amazing part was the age of the youngest one was, 13 years old.
13 years old.
Holy, I don't even know how to wrap my brain around a 13-year-old.
Well, but the older ones were how old?
I believe the
Jay,
last.
how old was Jay murdered?
I think he's 17 at this point. I think he's.
So that's still very young.
That's young, and then the oldest.
How much
was,
jail time did he get, do you know?
He was sentenced to 5 years in a boys' home in Pennsylvania, with stipulation, a very strict stipulation by Judge Garcia, that he so much as burps wrong, has one screw up, and he'll be going to big boy prison for 5 to 15.
And Judge Garcia will stick him there.
And they went through this kid's record, and he's been incarcerated. He's been in quite a bit of trouble, and every time he is screwed up, every time, right on down the line. So,
But, okay, you mentioned that one of them stated it was your fault for being in a marijuana grow house.
yes,
Was that Jay Murder?
Yeah, it was Jay Murder.
So-
He had no remorse. He pretty much it was there, so.
So it was your fault.
So it was my fault. If I hadn't been there growing it, I wouldn't have had to worry about getting robbed or murdered. That was his mentality on this. So,
Huh. You know, the amount of break-ins that I've seen happen for medical marijuana it went on the rise in the very beginning, then it dropped back down,
yeah,
and then it picked right back up again. But it seems to come in spurts and in waves.
Yeah,
For a minute, there was a lot of break-ins. Once that situation happened, the
Right.
break-ins stopped. So I'm assuming that these,
yeah, and I'm from the country, I'm not a city dweller, I don't know, you know, city-wise, I guess, I didn't know that people would actually, you know, that they
oh
were,
yeah, they'll do it.
I mean, on the country, you know, they know better.
Yeah. Not everybody out there's got guns.
Well, in the country, everybody expects you to, you know, everybody hunts wild game, deer, whitetail, you know. So most people where I'm from have guns. So you
Right.
know you're walking into a house that's got a gun. The bad part about these, with medical marijuana and the CCWs is pretty much put the bullseye on the back of everybody that wants to grow marijuana because,
You gotta get your CCW first, and then you get your marijuana card.
right. Yeah, there's that way, yeah, you can do it that way, I suppose.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, Colorado, their residents are able to have a CCW and a pistol, and able to grow marijuana, go into a store, smoke marijuana, and run whatnot.
Yeah, but the general consensus is if you got a grow, you can't have a gun, and that's, you know, and a lot of people, so, you know, the word's out there, so everybody knows if there's a grow, they can't have a gun, it makes us a bigger target.
Well, the legal debates are far from over, gentlemen. But I thank you very much for sharing your story, and I give you, you know, all of my wishes and welcoming. You know, I wish that would have never happened to you, but I'm glad that it worked out in your favor. And I'm glad that some criminals are going to be put to justice because, you know, breaking into someone's home and having a gun pointed at you, you know, those are the things that all of us citizens fear. So I'm glad that it worked out great for you, and I appreciate you coming, and thank you for your help today.
Yep. No, nice meeting you, sir.
Again, thank you guys so much, and Hybrid.Life, you'll see the story. Thank you guys.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.